Welcome to part 2 of Conscious Creation in the Intelligent Observer. In the first lecture, I made you a promise. I said we would not begin with motivation because motivation fades by tomorrow afternoon. We would begin with seeing clearly, so this is where we start. Not with the world out there, with ourselves. With an honest look at how a human being actually works underneath all the stories we tell about ourselves. And I have to warn you, the first observation is an uncomfortable one. For most of our waking lives, we are not acting. We are reacting. We like to believe we are rational creatures who weigh our options and then choose. But watch yourself for one ordinary day, like a quiet scientist studying an interesting animal, and you will see something else. Someone says a sharp word and your chest tightens before you have decided anything. Your phone lights up and your hand reaches for it before you know you moved. A familiar worry arrives and you are pulled into it like a leaf into a current. Almost all of it happens on its own. The thinking comes afterward, mostly to justify what already happened. We are far more automatic than we like to admit. So the real question becomes why? Why do you react the way you do and not some other way? And the answer is that everything that has ever happened to you left a mark. Every experience, every reward, every wound, everything you were praised for and shamed for, all of it pressed an imprint into you. And now when life presents you with a new moment, you do not meet it fresh. You meet it through the entire weight of your past. The old traditions had a word for this accumulated conditioning. They called it karma. And I want to take that word back from the fortune tellers because it does not mean some cosmic punishment falling from the sky. It means something far more practical and far more useful. It means the sum of your past, quietly shaping how you see and how you respond in the present. Let me show you the machinery of it, the way these teachers map the movement of the mind. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. They describe 4 movements that happen in an instant, faster than thought. First, there is cognition, raw contact, something touches your senses. Then there is recognition. Your mind reaches into its memory and labels the thing. This is good, this is bad, this is a threat, this is mine. And here is the key. That label is drawn entirely from your past, from your conditioning, from your karma. Then comes sensation. Based on that label, a feeling rises in the body, pleasant or unpleasant. And then comes the 4th movement, reaction. You crave it or you push it away. You grasp or you resist. Now sit with this because it is the whole game. The first 3 movements happen almost on their own. The contact, the labeling, the feeling, all driven by old imprints you did not choose. But the 4th movement, the reaction, that is the one place where you actually have a say. That is the single doorway where freedom lives. And almost nobody knows the door is there, so they react automatically. And every reaction lays down a fresh imprint, which strengthens the pattern, which makes the next reaction even more automatic. That is the loop most people live inside their entire lives, never once suspecting they are in it. And it runs deeper than you think because most of your mind is below the surface. These teachers describe the conscious and the near conscious as only a thin slice of the whole, a small fraction of what is really running you. The vast remainder operates in the dark, beneath your awareness. And it is the quality of that hidden part that quietly decides the quality of everything you think you are choosing on the surface, which leads to a startling conclusion that the old masters stated plainly. You are the maker of your own experience. You just do it compulsively without knowing you're doing it. Put two people in front of the very same event, and one is delighted while the other is devastated. The event did not decide that. Their conditioning did. Your experience of your life is almost entirely your own doing. Now let us look at the great engine that drives so much of this, which is desire. Desire is not a flaw. Desire is the very pulse of being alive. Without it, you would not get out of bed, you would not love, you would not build anything. And yet, desire is also the source of our deepest misery. And it is worth understanding exactly why. The teaching is that we have mistaken ourselves for the limited physical body. We have shrunk our sense of who we are down to this small bag of flesh and this small set of roles. But something in us reaches for something vast, and a small body can never contain a longing that large. So the wanting never ends. Satisfy one desire, and the next one rises before you have even finished celebrating. We chase and chase, certain that the next thing will finally do it. And it never does, because we are using physical things to fill a longing that is not physical at all. But here is the subtle point, and please do not miss it, because the shallow teachers get this wrong. Desire is not the enemy. Compulsive desire is, there is no such thing as a good desire or a bad desire. The only question that matters is whether your desire is conscious or compulsive. A conscious desire you hold, a compulsive desire holds you. One you can set down, the other drags you. The aim is never to kill desire. The aim is to stop being dragged by it. And this brings us to the ego, which is one of the most misunderstood words there is. The ego is not your enemy, and it is not a sin. It is a tool. You need a certain self to be a parent, and a different self to lead at work, and a different self again to be a friend, or to stand your ground. Different situations call for different versions of you, and that is healthy. The problem begins only when you lose track of which one is the costume and which one is you. Over time, the masks fuse to the face. You forget you are wearing them. You start to believe you simply are the role, the reputation, the story, the body. And once your whole sense of self has collapsed into that small, defended physical thing, you become fragile. Everything feels like a threat. Every criticism feels like an attack on your very existence, because you have nothing larger to stand on. Now let me say, the thing that, when it finally lands, changes a person. Almost all of our suffering is self-made. I want to be careful here, because there is a difference between pain and suffering, and the old teachers were precise about it. Pain is real, and pain is useful. Pain is the body's honest signal, a built-in alarm that protects you. Touch the flame, feel the burn, pull the hand back. That is wisdom. But suffering is a different creature. Suffering is what the mind manufactures on top of the moment. It is the replaying of yesterday and the rehearsing of tomorrow. It is the resisting of a moment that already is, the arguing with reality, the wishing that what is here right now were somehow different. You can be in physical pain and not suffer, and you can have no pain at all and suffer terribly. The body lives in the present, but the mind feeds endlessly on the past and the future, and so the mind is almost never here, where your actual life is taking place. And the heaviest forms of this self-made suffering are the resentments we carry. The old image is exact, and I have never forgotten it. Holding on to anger and bitterness toward another person is like drinking poison yourself and waiting for them to die. The other person sleeps fine. You are the one being slowly poisoned again and again every time you pick the grievance back up and swallow it. We think our anger punishes them. It only punishes us. So that is the honest portrait of human nature. We are largely automatic, run by conditioning we never chose. We mistake ourselves for a small body, and so we want without end. We forget which self is the mask, and we manufacture mountains of suffering by refusing the moment in front of us. If I stopped here, this would be a bleak lecture, but I am not going to stop here, because hidden inside this very diagnosis is the way out. Here it is. Everything I have just described is conditioning, and conditioning by its nature can be seen. And the moment you can truly see a pattern in yourself, you are no longer completely trapped inside it. You cannot fight your mind by force. You cannot bully yourself into peace. The old teaching was firm on this. You cannot do anything with your mind forcefully, but you do not need force. You need awareness. You need to create even the smallest gap between you and the automatic machinery, so that in that gap, a real choice can finally appear. The masters left us a single sentence to carry into that gap, and we will return to it many times. This body, this mind is a gathering. It is not me. The body is borrowed from the earth and returns to it. The mind is a collection of imprints gathered from outside. Neither one is the deepest you. And the part of you that can notice the body and watch the mind, that quiet watcher, is where your freedom has been waiting this whole time. That watcher is what we turn to soon. But before that, in the next lecture, we step back and look at something remarkable. Once you understand this nature of ours, you start to ask what can actually be done about it. And it turns out that human beings in completely different parts of the world, separated by oceans and centuries, arrived at almost the same answers. The Stoics in Greece and Rome, the sages of the East, the quiet philosophers in between, all of them looked at this same restless, reacting, suffering creature, and all of them discovered a strikingly similar set of principles for setting it free. That shared wisdom, that timeless operating system for being human, is where we go next. Please subscribe for more of such well-researched intellectual sharing.